unwrap?
You can unwrap it too. So what I'll do, have Andrew open up my mic for a minute. While Ben's still here, how about if before you leave, I'm going to officially present these to you.
Sure.
On behalf of the community.
Sure.
Okay? So we'll do that. Because I know you have lots
Want to take
going
these out?
on. Yeah, we can take those on. And I'm ready, I think. If I've had a hectic day, I can't imagine what your day's been like.
Well, I haven't been back to my office yet, so.
Oh, okay. You can just pan across it, doesn't matter. We don't want them to count each one. We'll guarantee that they've been counted. We're celebrating Telly Awards number 25 and 26. Next on Village in Motion. Yeah, I've thought, okay, never mind. We're celebrating Telly Award winning number 25 and 26. Next on Village in Motion. Welcome to a very, very, very special Village in Motion, because we're celebrating. We always celebrate here at Green Spring, but I'm really happy to be your host. Diane Gatz is having on. Can you believe it's the last Monday of August? School's going to be starting really fast, and we won't even talk about that. But I am so happy and privileged to have Ben Conthorne here, the executive director, to mark this special occasion. Ben, 10 consecutive years, I don't know how we keep doing this, of winning Telly Awards.
Isn't it awesome? I'm so proud of you and the rest of the team, the community, that these awards really encapsulate just a terrific outcome of distinguished excellence, which I think is just well deserved.
And with that, I have to brag about my staff. And when I call my staff, I'm not just talking about Andrew and Avon, who are definitely an integral part of this. I'm talking about the resident volunteers, because these awards are pitted against HBO, NBC. I mean, we're talking the full gamut of professional organizations who use professional crews. And by that I mean they get paid. That's kind of the difference. But all the shows that we have produced have been done with our resident volunteers.
To your point, even more impressive. I think when you see the number of volunteer hours, the amount of time that people spend behind the camera, on camera, it's just awesome to see. But yeah, what a tremendous honor to put the big boys and girls to shame, huh? Here at Little Green Spring.
Yeah, who would have thought it, huh? But just giving a little bit of history. So about 10 years ago, actually it's been more like 11, because it's always, I'm always looking back. The awards were won for the year 2014. So anyway, but if you go back 11 years ago, we decided, let's go ahead and enter the Telly Award competition. Why not? And so the competition is a judge category. We do pay for the entry fee, like any kind of award. You know, if
Sure.
you were golfing in a golf classic, you have to pay so much money. So we do pay that fee. But the awards itself, there are 3 independent judges who look at the samples that we submit. And we started with, here's the first one, believe it or not. This was a silver award that we actually about a week ago we went ahead and redid for the Remembrance 60 years later. And I know I said on that show that show was an idea that one of our residents came up with, Bob Zigowitz. And you know, we were able to go over to the Ojima Memorial and with 6, 7 residents and tape their reflections on D-Day.
That's awesome.
And now we have these 2 new ones. And they were, again, resident-based. We have one that you're going to be seeing shortly with Mary Alice Dean, who talks about her spiritual journey. And then the second one is our Spotlight on History, which airs every Monday after Village in Motion. And again, strictly, really, resident-dominated.
Think about the stories that it captures in all these efforts. You know, what a nice memento for the community, but also what a tremendous vehicle that we have at our disposal to be able to utilize for communicating ongoings, featured spotlights, in just life here at Greenspring. It's really just a tremendous asset to the community.
And we will be putting all these up on our YouTube, our new YouTube channel, for people to be able to watch and view. So if they don't catch them on Village in Motion, they can go onto our YouTube channel. So let me, on behalf of Channel 6, this one is for Spotlight on History. I'd like to present number 25 to you.
Gladly.
And this is Spiritual Journey, which is number 26, I think. I'm not sure. It doesn't really matter. On behalf of Channel 6, there you go, Ben.
Well, thank you. I should have come with a shopping basket.
You should have. It'd be really hard to push these up the hill, I think. But I thank you for joining us, and I'm going to let you go because I know you're very busy.
Well, thank you again to you and the crew and the many resident volunteers that make all this possible. It really is just an outstanding achievement as recognized by the Telly Award, and just continue the great efforts and appreciate all that you all are doing.
Well, thank you. Before you go away, because we have lots more to be talking about, we want to give you a sample of the Spiritual Journey Telly Award winning. So here's this little segment. It's with Mary Alice Dean and Jim Bell.
Well, the World Parliament of Religions brought together the world religions, representatives from the various world religions. And that was in the late 1890s, I
It was
think.
1893.
Wow.
And then there had not been that kind of gathering again until several years ago.
1993. It was almost 100 years.
Yeah, that's right. And then those religions came back to Chicago. And the difference in this country between then,
Yes.
before all of these exotic, strange robes and headpieces are so natural now in this country. You know, like on the first Parliament, the kind of turbans that some religions wore was offensive to some people, for example. Now you see them all around here. So it was an entirely different atmosphere,
That's
the
right.
Second World Parliament.
Well, it shows how the world being smaller and people traveling more and being exposed to other cultures. I was very fortunate in my life as an American. Not so many people of my age, I'm 84 now, had that opportunity. And it was through my father's career and my chosen career and my marriage. And then meeting Swamiji, it extended even to more and more. And I told Jim that I was raised Episcopalian. Our 2 boys were confirmed by the Bishop of Taiwan when we were living there. One of them now is a good weather Christian. He's Episcopalian, and his children are all Episcopalian. The other is a Taoist master, and I am sort of a Christian Vedantin. And then I have a minister as a niece, so we sort of cover everything in our family.
One of your during the time that I was working with your family when David died, one of your nieces referred to Aunt Mary as a very free spirit.
Yes. Some people think I'm sort of kooky out on a limb, and because at my age there were not many people when the yoga movement was first starting, and chanting and beads and mala, and the beads are actually, the prayer beads are called mala. I forgot to wear mine, but at any rate, I was much older. In fact, all of my friends, the ones who came to chant, are between my children and me, but they don't see me as the elder stateswoman or whatever. They just see me as one of their fellow devotees. And we are very, very close. There are only about 22 of us now in this area, but we do meet once a month, and we chant and we pray for world peace. And each of us leads chants, and I lead chants quite often, although my voice is going now.
I know you said you could not share your mantra, but can you share one of the chants? The prayers in the bulletin for David's service, we had the prayers they chanted, but we had them printed in English so people could read them. They were beautiful prayers.
I can do one that is a general prayer for peace and well-being. Would you like me to do
Yes,
Oh, that would be
please.
wonderful. Yes.
Om Triambakam Yajamahe Sukundim Pushtivardhanam Urvarkamiva Bandhanam Richor Mukshiyamam Metat. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Peace in your minds, peace in your hearts, peace in the world.
And I think that is why we won a Telly
I think so
Award.
too. I said the same thing. I think it was because of the chanting, because it's so unusual.
Which is fine. I'm
Yeah.
not going to complain.
Yeah.
But we have in the studio now Mary Alice Dean, who you heard chanting, and Jim Bell, who's the pastor of Village Church, and my co-host, co-producer of Spiritual Journeys. And we've been doing the Spiritual Journeys now, I don't even know how long. It's been a while. And I think it was Jim who suggested Mary Alice
Right.
to us.
And I got to know Mary Alice in terms of the faith journey.
Yeah.
When I did your husband's funeral.
That's right, yeah.
And memorial service, and we started talking about all this.
Yes.
You had some people at his service to do chanting.
Yes. I asked Jim if it would be appropriate because I didn't want to offend anyone. And he said, no, I think as long as you had the translations of the chants, which were very beautiful. And so that's how that happened.
Now, your husband was also...
He was very supportive. He was not quite as involved as I was, but he was very supportive.
So, did you ever think you'd win a Telly Award?
Oh, I never know. No, I certainly didn't. I certainly didn't. But I agree with you. I think it was the chanting that made it a little bit more unique than... and I think the world is so small now with the globalization that I think people are more interested in religions and philosophies other than their own.
Well, I remember the day after we did that interview, walking back to my office, and I thought, that was a really good interview because of you being so articulate and because of the chanting. I thought that was just it was unusual, I thought.
Oh, definitely. And I when we select the entries, I have no rhyme or reason. Sometimes it's like an afterthought. I've done things like, maybe I should submit this. And lo and behold, that ends up winning, where some of the entries that I'm like, this has got to win a Telly Award, and they don't. And then other things are just so, of course that would have won. But pleasantly surprised and just excited, and I went, that should have won the award because it was a very special program.
Well, I was very gratified, not that because it was my interview, but because people found it of interest, and that was very, very gratifying to me, just to be able to share something that's a little different and that has been so meaningful in my life.
You said you had a lot of phone calls from people.
I did, yes. I was very surprised at the response within Greenspring, because I didn't want to in any way appear to trying to convert or proselytize. But I did find that a lot of people were very interested, regardless of their background, whether they were Christian or Jewish or Catholic or whatever. And that, I thought, surprised me, pleasantly surprised me. But I had no idea that it was ever going to be sent in as... that was a huge shock to me.
Yeah, I usually don't tell people until after the fact. I try to do it quietly so that we get the full impact. But and you still chant every day.
Yes.
And that's part of your spiritual journey that you're continuing to pursue.
Yes, actually last Sunday, our group meets once a month, the first Sunday of every month. And we're friends who have practiced yoga for many years and have the same spiritual teacher. And last Sunday happened to be a festival called Guru Purnima. Guru, as I said before, means teacher, the one who dispels darkness of ignorance. And at that, we do the chanting and the prayers and the meditation, but we also honor our own spiritual teacher and all the great masters of all the religions. So it's quite ecumenical, if you want to say, but it's a very uplifting, and we honor all of them, everyone, not one before the other, but everyone.
That's a good way to do it.
Yes.
So, Jim, you have any more thoughts that we can...
Well, I'm just glad we asked her to be on here.
Well, thank you for asking me, Jim.
I'm glad you came and shared that.
Yeah.
It was an exciting, I remember it was
Thank
an
you very
exciting
much.
interview.
Thank you.
So let me go ahead and make it official. We have, for you, the community is going to keep the trophies here at Channel 6. We have two certificates that we're going to present to you. One, Mary Alice.
Thank you very, very
and
much.
Jim, and it's basically
Thank you.
you know, the 36th annual Telly Awards,
Oh, this is
recognizing
great.
you as a 2015 Bronze Telly winner.
Thank you very much.
And I have to tell you, one day I had, this was a few years ago, I think we were having an open house in my place. And I have a Telly Award at my house from a previous job. And someone walked in and looked up and said, Telly Award. And I went, yes. And they were like, yeah, my mom has won a couple of them. And so you never know when you may have someone walk into your house and say, oh, you got a Telly Award. That's really cool.
Well, I think I will treasure this. I think it's wonderful, and I thank you very much. I thank you for inviting me and you for interviewing me.
I'm glad you could come do it.
Thank you.
So, well, congratulations. And we're going to go ahead and take another break because we're going to honor the next number 26 Telly winner, which was the Spotlight in History with Tom Williams. So we're going to see that winning entry, and then we're going to talk to Tom and Andrew. So stay tuned.
On July 6, 1957, Althea Gibson won the women's single tennis title at Wimbledon and became the first African-American woman to do so at London's All England Lawn Tennis and Croquet Club. Prior to her win, Miss Gibson was a Harlem native who played tennis as a teenager and won the National Black Women's Championship twice. Her success gained the attention of the U.S. Nationals winner, Alice Marble, who advocated on Miss Gibson's behalf to enter the 1950 U.S. Open, a time when tennis was a segregated sport. She went on to win the singles title at the 1956 French Open before her run at Wimbledon. Following her historic win, she toured with the Harlem Globetrotters as a pre-game tennis exhibitionist. In 1964, she broke the color barrier in women's golf and played until 1971 when Ms. Gibson was inducted into the National Lawn Tennis Hall of Fame. In her later career, the pioneering athlete served as New Jersey's Commissioner of Athletics until 1985. On July 14, 1789, in a dramatic action marking the start of the French Revolution, Parisian dissidents stormed the Bastille, a royal fortress which stood as a symbol of tyranny of the Bourbon monarchy. Originally built in 1370 to protect against British attack, the fortress was used in the 17th century as a state prison, where most upper-class criminals, crooked politicians, and spies were sentenced by the king without a trial. During the summer of 1789, deadly food shortages and popular resentment against the king pushed France closer to revolution. A representation of commoners called the Third Estate formed the National Assembly and called upon King Louis XVI to recognize a constitution. He first gave in, but relented by arresting one of their ministers of state. Responding to the enraged mob and knowing his fortress stood as a symbol of monarchy, Governor Bernard Jourdan de Launay of the Bastille called for reinforcements in anticipation of the riots. On July 13th,
And what you just saw and heard was the winning entry, excuse me, for the 2014 Telly Awards. And it was done by these two gentlemen here, Andrew Seegers, who is the producer, director, editor for the Spotlights, and our award-winning host, the host with the most, Tom Williams. Tom, how long have you been doing the Spotlights on history?
about 4 years.
4 years. Well, congratulations.
Thank you very much. I'm deeply honored.
Well, I think you should be, because, and it's not from me, I mean, from our peers have selected your show as a winner.
Really flattering. I had no idea that this was going to come about. I've had a lot of fun with it. I've learned a lot about it. And you learn also not to take yourself too seriously. I had an experience one time a couple of years ago. I was on an elevator here in Green Spring. A number of people in the elevator, including a rather elderly old man. He kind of looked at me and he finally said, "Are you that guy on TV?" And I said, "Yes, sir." Oh. So again, you learn not to take yourself too seriously. I don't know what I ever did that he didn't like, but it was clear that he did not like. There were some ladies on the elevator too, and of course they were trying
They
to
were snickering, huh?
stop laughing and so on. But really, it's been a lot of fun, and it's been an opportunity for me to kind of review in my mind things that in recent years that I know about because I was alive then and so on. And so that's been helpful. I also learned one time Andrew gave me my script, and there was a name on there of a prince. Oh, later was a king, a boy king, a name I have never been able to pronounce, and I really worked on it ahead of time, and it was the boy king Tutankhamun. And I'm still not sure I have it right, but normally people know who I'm talking about.
King Tut.
Yeah, just say King Tut.
That's a lot easier, sure. But seriously, it's really been great, and I can't tell you how pleased I am certainly for this honor. I never thought that I would be considered and so on, but you're just a grand bunch of people to work with.
Well, thank you. And speaking of work with, so Andrew, you've been producing this for, I'm thinking, 7 years.
Pretty much the whole time I've been here, I think.
I think so, right, because you took it over from Kim Condon, who was the first producer who started the Spotlights. It was a combination of Kim and I talking one day and Kim kind of feeling like she needed more work to do. How many people can you say actually?
If only she worked here now.
Yes. And I said, well, Kim, you know, I've had this idea for a while, but I just haven't had time to put it together. I was thinking, wouldn't it be neat to do some kind of weekly spotlight on history type segment? And she took it and went, and this is the second Telly that we've won for Spotlight. So tell us a little bit about the process, Andrew. How do you go about producing one of these spotlights on history?
Well, once a month, Tom wanders over to my desk and reminds me that it's the end of the month and that it's probably time to tape another one. So then I have to do the research. And there's just a great website I use. History.com has a feature called This Day in History, and you type in a date, and it gives you a variety of things that happened that day, and I usually click on one that I think is the most interesting. And I've done it enough now that I know the ones I've covered in previous years, so sometimes I try and, well, I did that, you know, last year, so I'll do this one this time. But there's also events that I don't skip over, like every year we hit Pearl Harbor.
Oh, yeah.
And we always talk about, you know, D-Day and things like that. And so there's things that we keep in on a yearly basis. But so I'll try and transpose the research into my own words. And then I think I pop the script in your box. And we usually set a day during the week where you'll come in and just read it, voiceover only. I think we do an open and close, like a welcome and goodbye. But then you just read the script straight through.
Yeah.
And before it airs that Monday, I will overlay pictures and things to go along with what Tom is saying, and it's real easy to find a lot of good public domain pictures online, especially on like the Wiki. I think they're called Wikimedia Commons is the license that you use for that. But yeah, so that's it. It's writing and shooting and editing.
And most of the features are about 8 minutes long.
Yeah, they're
right?
7 to 8 minutes.
So when you compute how long you actually take to do one, from the time you start the research to the time that it's in the can and ready to air, what kind of hours are we talking about?
We've streamlined it more as we've gotten better at it over the years. Now I think, well, the research and the writing takes the longest. That's 2 or 3 hours of one day. And then we shoot it in usually half an hour. And it probably takes me another hour to put an episode together. So it's probably 4 or 5 hours per episode.
And that gets, that just shows you, so about 4 to 5 hours for something that basically ends up to be about 8 minutes long. And that's the streamline. I'm sure it took you a lot longer when you first started.
Yes.
And we were pretty super ambitious at the beginning. Some of our episodes, we were doing birthdays and we were doing trivia questions, and I think it got to the point when we decided to kind of pare it down to only history. The meat of it is still intact, but. Yeah.
And Tom, do you have any input on the script? Once you get the script, do you?
Oh, indeed.
He corrects my grammar.
And there are some times I'll say, Andrew, we need to add something else here. You mentioned Pearl Harbor a minute ago. You've got 18 million veterans in this place, a good many of whom actually were at Pearl Harbor, or we all remember it, and I wouldn't dare attempt to be a history man and forget something like that. I'd never make it back to my apartment. So yes, I talked to Andrew about it, and I'm always very nice to him about it, but then he says, yeah, I guess we ought to do that. And so, yeah.
Yeah, there's usually 3 things you add. It's usually, you'll either correct my grammar on something or spelling. You'll tell me we need to add something, or you'll ask me how to pronounce something. Those are usually the three questions.
You're getting bad when you ask me how to pronounce some of those names, when you're getting really like.
You've been fine a few times I've asked you, but Andrew's same way. But sometimes I'll look at my dictionary up in my apartment while I'm rehearsing, and I think, so then the problem is that when you have a group of people looking at you and you're asking them to take their time, you try to put on the best program possible. And if my grammar is incorrect or pronunciation, so on and so forth, I'm going to go down the tube in a hurry, and I should do that. I mean, so yeah, we work, I think, very well together.
Oh, I agree. And I will say that our residents who watch our show religiously are also part of the celebration, because they keep us on our game and make sure that we do it right. And if we don't, trust me, we hear about it. So let me go ahead and present to you Tom Williams, the Bronze Telly Award winning for Spotlight on History, and for Andrew, something that I hope you will display proudly in your apartment. And
I will indeed.
Put it up with, they're probably better than some of those medals you've probably won over the years, Tom. What do you think?
We're not going to get into that.
We're not going to get into it.
No.
They're heavier than the medals, I can tell you that.
But I do thank you very much. And Andrew, I thank you for all your help. I couldn't have done it without you. No question about it.
And I hope we do many, 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 many more years of Spotlight on Histories. And there'll be one coming up after the announcements, but stay right where you're at, because I do want to tell you what's coming up tonight on Channel 6. The Monday feature is Parkinson's Divide at 2 and 8 p.m., and then the Catholic Mass will rebroadcast at 5 and 9 p.m. Tuesday, we are continuing the celebration. This is Making Monster Mash. It was our 2013 Telly Award-winning show, plus the Brain Tease. Our feature programming for Tuesday and Thursday is the Resident Council meeting of August, and Village Church will rebroadcast at 5 and 8 p.m. I'm going to let you go. We are just going to continue the celebration here. Green Spring, you should be celebrating. You should be very proud of the fact that we have 26 Tellys for you to brag about to your family. And whenever you need to see them, come on by and I'll let you take a look at them. You have a wonderful day. As promised, the award-winning Spotlight on History is next with Tom Williams.
Thank you again.
Thank you. Take care. Have a great day.
There's a party going on right here, a celebration to last throughout the years. So bring your good times and your laughter too. We gon' celebrate.
Spotlight on History. I'm Tom Williams. On August 4th, 1944, acting on a tip from a Dutch informer, the Nazi Gestapo located 15-year-old Jewish diarist Anne Frank and her family in a secret annex area of an Amsterdam warehouse. The Franks had hidden there in 1942 out of fear of deportation to a Nazi concentration camp. They occupied the small space with another Jewish family and a single Jewish man, and were aided by Christian friends who brought them food and supplies. Anne passed the time in hiding, writing in her diary. The diary survived the war, overlooked by the Gestapo that discovered the family, but Anne and nearly all of the others were lost in the Nazi death camps. For 2 years, Anne kept a diary about her life in hiding that is marked with poignancy, humor, and insight. The door to the secret annex was hidden by a hinged bookcase, and former co-workers of Anne's father, Otto, delivered food and supplies at high risk to themselves. Anne and the others lived in blacked-out rooms, never even flushed the toilet during the day due to the noise. In June 1944, Anne's spirits soared due to the invasion of Nazi-occupied Normandy, and she was hopeful that the long-awaited liberation of Holland would soon begin. On August 1st, 1944, Anne made her last entry in her diary. 3 days later, 25 months after hiding, ended with the arrival of the Gestapo. On August 12th, 1990, fossil hunter Susan Hendrickson spied 3 gigantic bones protruding from a cliff near Faith, South Dakota. They turned out to be the largest ever Tyrannosaurus Rex skeleton that we've ever discovered, a 65-million-year-old specimen that was named Sue after its discoverer. Amazingly, Sue's skeleton was over 90% intact, and the bones were extremely well preserved. Hendrickson's employer, the Black Hills Institute of Geological Research, put up $5,000 to the landowner, Maurice Williams, for permission to evacuate the dinosaur, which was cleaned and moved to their headquarters in Hill City. The Institute's president, Peter Larson, proposed plans to construct a nonprofit museum to exhibit Sue along with other fossils of the Cretaceous period. In 1992, a long legal battle began over Sue. The United States Attorney's Office claimed Sue's bones had been taken from federal land and were United States government property. It was eventually found that Williams, part Native American and a member of the Cheyenne River Sioux tribe, had bartered his land to the tribe 20 years earlier to avoid paying taxes, and consequently, his sale of excavation rights to Black Hills had been invalid. So in October 1997, Chicago's Field Museum bought Sue at auction at Sotheby's in New York City for $8.3 million. with the financial aid of the McDonald's and Disney corporations. On August 18, 1991, Soviet President Mikhail Gorbachev was placed under house arrest during a coup by senior members of his own government, as well as military and police forces. The coup was orchestrated by hardline elements within the Gorbachev administration, as well as the heads of the KGB, or secret police. Cornered at his vacation villa in Crimea, he was pressured to give his resignation, which he refused. Reporting Gorbachev was ill, the coup leaders, led by former Vice President Gennady Yanayev, declared a state of emergency and tried to seize the government. Gorbachev was released and flown to Moscow, but his regime had been dealt a deadly blow. Over the next few months, he dissolved the Communist Party, granted independence to the Baltic states, and proposed a looser, more economics-based federation among the remaining republics. In December 1991, Gorbachev resigned. Boris Yeltsin capitalized on his defeat of the coup, merging from the rubble of the former Soviet Union as one of the most powerful figures in Moscow and the leader of the newly formed Commonwealth of Independent States. On August 27, 1883, the most powerful volcanic eruption in recorded history occurred on Krakatau, also called Krakatoa, a small and uninhabited volcanic island located west of Sumatra in Indonesia. It was heard 3,000 miles away, and the explosions threw 5 cubic miles of earth 50 miles into the air. Created 20-foot tsunamis and killed 36,000 people. On August 26th and 7th, excitement turned to horror as Krakatoa literally blew itself apart, setting off a chain of natural disasters that would be felt around the world for years to come. An enormous blast on the afternoon of August 26th destroyed the northern two-thirds of the island as it plunged into the Sunda Strait between the Java Sea and Indian Ocean, the gushing mountain generating a series of pyroclastic flows, which are fast-moving fluid bodies of molten gas, ash, and rock, and monstrous tsunamis that swept over nearby coastlines. 4 more eruptions beginning at 5:30 a.m. the following day proved cataclysmic. The explosions could be heard as far as 3,000 miles away, and ash was propelled to a height of 50 miles. Fine dust from the explosion drifted around the Earth, causing spectacular sunsets and forming an atmospheric veil that lowered temperatures worldwide by several degrees. Thanks for watching. Hope to see you next time in Spotlight on History.